Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source for everything Workspace by the Tab Geeks Network. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. I'd like to take a minute to talk about the elephant in the room. Apple today announced its entry into the VR market, if you haven't heard, and it is called the Vision Pro. As you know, I'm a sucker for endless screen real estate. But honestly, at $3,500 a unit, I just can't justify purchasing one now. I'll have to wait, I suppose. I also have a rule against buying, well, any first-gen Apple product. This is a rule that I broke one time with the first-generation Apple Watch, and I actually didn't regret it. But generally, they're pretty rough around the edges, and the second generation is like a million times better, so I don't usually break that rule. But I did notice during the keynote that they mentioned that the headset is already optimized to work well with Microsoft Office and Teams. And all I have to say is, Google, if you're listening, if you are not working on coming out with one of these of your own, and I mean soon, please get on this train so that I can use my Google environment on my face and have, endless screen real estate, meetings, whatever, all of the applications I use, all the googly stuff, Google Chrome on my face. That would be great. What about you, Steve? You ever strap a computer to your face? Steve?
Sorry, it was just not coming through very clearly.
You froze for a second there.
Same for you. So, I was just gonna say. So you're probably though kicking yourself that you didn't buy that first iPhone that came out and bought 10 of them and never unboxed them, because that would have been a good first purchase.
So MKBHD just did a video on that. Did you see it?
I did. Yes.
He bought one. He super duper lucked out. For those who didn't see it, and he bought one for like $36,000, and some of the other ones have gone for $60,000. And I mean that's pretty pricey. Brand new inbox, and he unboxed it. Like he ruined the value of it for the sake of one hell of a YouTube video, which I appreciate, because that's what we watch them for, is amazing experiences and things that we can't manage to do on our own. And it was pretty cool to see that. I did not. I didn't have the funds back then to even buy one iPhone. Never mind my rule or otherwise. Let's put it that way. I was young and broke.
Yeah, but I think your question was, I didn't hear, but is written down, is what if I ever strapped the computer to my face, is what you've probably asked me. And I mean, I have. I mean, I've done.
There's the thumbnail right there. Computer on my face.
I've done some of the Oculus a couple times. We've had a few events. We actually do like a VR event for like a job fair, for example.
Oh, interesting.
And you could use that to kind of immerse yourself in kind of the VR environment. Yeah, actually interesting. Most people just do it from the computer, but you can actually get the headset and walk around and do all that. And then, of course, I mean, I don't know if you can. I mean, you've got to call the Google Glass, I guess, a computer that you strap to your face. I mean,
I did. I wore that for a month.
Done that a few
month
times.
Straight.
Yeah. I enjoyed that.
For this thing to really work, I mean, it's going to be heavy no matter what you do. It's going to take a decade before it's shrunk down to the point where it's not heavy.
To a contact.
Come on. My phone is heavy. Like, I wouldn't want to put this. This is what people have been saying for years, if it's not the Google Glass shape or the Nreal glasses, which are just like, goofy, regular square sunglasses almost. Other than that, like the real good experiences are heavy. So I feel like you would have to, like, requirement is using a Secret Lab chair where you just like recline to a slight recline there with a pillow and just put it on your face and just let it rest. I'm not going to do it laying back because I'll knock over my whole backdrop here, but I feel like that's how it's going to be for several years until they can really minimize everything, shrink it all down. All right, so that was just the fun intro here. I have a few more things to show off. I got, if this is interesting to anybody, you'll remember I tested out and got the HP Dragonfly Elite Chromebook a little while back, and I've been using it on and off as my daily laptop driver. This is its little sibling, I suppose, if you're talking cost-wise, the HP Dragonfly Pro Chromebook. Now, this is very interesting because I kind of liken it or describe it as the Pixelbook Go to the Pixelbook. So the HP, I gotta get all these names straight. The Elite, the HP Dragonfly Elite is a 13.5 360-degree hinge, turns into a tablet, the whole thing. The screen on this is only 400 nits, and I kind of like to define premium Chromebooks by their screen brightness and quality, and I mean, obviously everything else, processors and whatnot. What, Steve?
No, it just doesn't seem like a lot, 400.
It's not. The MacBook Pro, which is obviously a $2,000 computer, goes to 500 by default, but all the way up to 1,000 in HDR and in certain situations and things like that. And there are other Chromebooks out there that have 500 or 600 nits. Now, the Dragonfly Elite, if you purchase the higher model, does come with a screen that goes to 1,200 nits, and that's massive. That is incredibly bright. Like I said, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the MacBook Pro 14-inch only goes to 1,000 nits and only for HDR. But you can buy it. It just kills the battery and is that's like the $2,500 model. Comes the Pro model, which, by the way, this is heavy. This is a 14-inch, does not open. So it doesn't open all 360 degrees. I'm trying to describe it for those who are on the podcast side of things. It's kind of matte black, even though they call it sparkle. But the interesting thing about this is it's $1,000, and it has a 1,200 nit screen. And it's really, really like surface of the sun bright, which is incredible. You were talking you need it for poolside. And I'm just going to open this up and just show it real quick because one of its gimmicks or cool features is the keyboard is colorful LEDs. Yeah. So I can change them to one color to match my background, to personalize it, etc. I can make it all, red, for example, or all green. But right now it's kind of like a rainbow cascade color across the keyboard here. And the keyboard is very nice, just like the other one. HP keyboards traditionally for years have been fantastic, but the specs in this thing are also interesting because the $1,200 Elite, which only came with the 400 nit screen, was an i3 with 8 gig of RAM. Now the $1,000 Pro, HP Chromebook Pro, is an i5, same gen, same processor model, just an i5 with 16 gig of RAM and a 1,200 nit brightness screen. So I'm a little confused about the pricing and the availability of features. Like, okay, fine, this thing only has 4 Thunderbolt ports. It doesn't have, what does the other one have here? Regular USB, HDMI, headphone jack, and SD card slot. It does not have those. And the fingerprint reader is in a different place. What it does have are the loudest speakers I've ever heard on a laptop outside of a MacBook. Like, the whole thing was vibrating, playing a Rush song on it, just for funsies, for testing. I had to turn it down because I was afraid I was going to wake everybody in the house. One thing I will note that has been ambiguous in the materials and even on the website, the trackpad on the Pro, I can now confirm, is haptic. That's the one thing that I love the most about the MacBook Pro. Like, the trackpad has always been amazing, but now it's a haptic trackpad, which means no physical moving parts. You push down on it, it taps back at you, kind of like the haptic phone screens. The Dragonfly Elite is haptic, and I love that. It's the best. Amazing feeling, most intuitive, straightforward. I put in too much pressure when I have to go and try and click a physical clicking trackpad on other devices now. On their website, they state that it's a multi-touch input trackpad for the Pro, but they don't say that it's haptic. So I was like, what the hell? Let's see. If worst case scenario, I'll return it and say, hey, it's not haptic. I expected it to be haptic for the price, whatever. It's haptic, which is very weird. So HP, if you're listening, that's my mini review. I don't know why you guys have set it up to be, priced this way, or the decision on different features and, what to include, what not to include. I will say this is heavier, like a lot heavier than the other one. But quite frankly, if you don't need the 360-degree hinges, this is a better buy. Because honestly, even with HDMI showing up on the other laptop, I'm still carrying a dongle around these days. So I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm probably going to do a full video comparing these two and going through a full discussion around which one's better or which one might be better for you, and comparing all of the specs. But I'll leave that for that video, because already we've been now like 10 minutes in and haven't even done the news. Last thing I'll show off is my t-shirt of the week here. I've been doing this thing where I'm buying a whole bunch of nerdy t-shirts because I'm not getting them at conferences anymore from other YouTube creators like us. And so this one is from my buddy over at Crosstalk Solutions and his Network the Moon t-shirt. So thank you to Chris for throwing in some extra goodies as well. If you're not familiar with his channel, it's one of the best tech and networking YouTube channels there is. So go and check that out. Not sponsored, just trying to, share the love and whatnot. Steve is feeling a little bit, or seeing a little bit of network lag, and I'm seeing it on his end as well. I don't think it's going to affect the recording because, again, the tool that we use uploads, it records locally and uploads the complete file, so probably not going to see it there, but if you see us like glitching out a little bit in responding to each other tonight,
slow to respond,
slow to respond, yes. Steve's NPC is glitching out, not NPC, that's the wrong term because you're actually an active user, but Steve's avatar is glitching out in the Matrix over here, so I don't know. My computer, everything's green across the board. The network, everything's green across the board. So I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's on your side.
Who knows?
Could just be a storm in the Rockies in between you and me or something. I don't know.
Right.
But on the edit, I'm sure it will be fine. So hey, what do we got in the show?
Sure.
10 minutes in, more than 10 minutes in this week.
Whew, I know. I was about to go take a little nap there and wait for you to wrap things up.
I take a little nap while you do the updates. So turnabout's fair play.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So a few updates. A few decent updates we saw this week. One silent release. The end of week recap post there. 7 during the week. An update with Bard. Chrome 114 being released. A couple of updates. We'll talk about that. And then a few things in the news. So, pretty full, well-rounded episode this week. And we'll start off kind of going through that agenda there and talk about the first one that we saw, which was that end of week recap post update, where additional updates from Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides apps on Android devices are just getting some updates there. Next is the addition of some more call performance data in the Google Voice audit logs. There's also some expanded actions in the admin console space management tool. Oh, my favorite topic of the year is going to be existing spaces organized by conversation topics going to be upgraded to the new inline threaded experience. Yes.
Yep. I saw this and I immediately thought of you, Steve, and
sad day.
Your friends who also feel the same way as you.
I got a couple.
There are a few of you.
Yes. So that's coming end of 2023 here in Q4. Next, that we can start to see top search results first in Gmail on mobile. Next, we can start to we're going to be able to plan, organize, and analyze assignments and grades with grading periods in Google Classroom. And then next, you can start to declutter your conversations in Google Chat. Some interesting optimizations there for messages that are maybe a little bit older and have been looked at for a bit. Next, and finally, we have some better control for the flow of meetings with viewer mode in Google Meet. And then in some other updates, we see that Bard has some updates here related to location info. Chrome Enterprise version 114. Saw a couple updates in the admin console related to CBCM, and of course some new policies in general. And then in other news, we saw about four or five things here. The first one being an article from 9 to 5 talking about Google Chat's future might have a new logo and timeline redesign. Next, another 9 to 5 article here talking about how Google is going to start rolling out image generation in Slides, more Duet AI for Gmail and Docs, and what you can do to get a hold of those updates there. Next, a cloud blog article talking about 7 new no-cost generative AI training courses to advance your cloud career. and some links there to the Cloud Skills Boost site in terms of where you can get access to those. And then finally, to wrap things up, there's a Verge article talking about Google trialing passwordless logins across Workspace and cloud accounts. So that is a pretty big update. Lots of discussion happening around that in all the communities today as that got announced. So, we'll of course cover that here a little bit in the news today, just because it's kind of out today on our recording day. But then we will talk about the update in a bit more depth next week, once we start to discuss this week's updates next week. So first update here we'll talk about is that, just moving a little tab down below here to get this in order, the additional updates for Google Docs Sheets and Slides apps on Android devices. So just some more improvements to large screen Android devices. In terms of what this update is going to hold, is that you'll now have the ability to access a vertical context menu when you use your right mouse. Use the right mouse clicking in the Docs and Slide app. That option will use a hardware keyboard to insert arrow keys in the Google Sheets app. There's also some formula-related keyboard shortcuts and some nice animations to go along with those. Not probably Jesse's ideal massive, 10 screens, 6 8K large, but decent enough.
I keep saying that I keep thinking about getting an Android tablet because I'm never able to test any of these or, feel that experience. And I am actually really considering getting the Pixel tablet as a replacement. Right. My Google Home, whatever the hell it's called, screen in my kitchen, which is like the center of my home, is dying. It's, to be fair, my kids have gotten their grubby, mealtime fingers all over it constantly, and it sits on the counter, and flour probably is all up on the inside and there and stuff. It's probably disgusting. Now that I'm thinking about it, gross. Maybe I should, put a fence around it or something. But it's not out yet, so I can't actually go and buy it. A few more weeks, I think, and then I need to see the reviews to find out how much it really replicates the Google Home experience there to know if it's going to work or not. Right. For me, and whether or not I can have an account for my kids and my, housekeeper or whatever. Anyway, if I do, then I'll be able to, show up and test these things.
Sure. Well, next, going into the kind of next update here, first one of the main updates announced during the week is that there's going to be more call performance data in Google Voice audit logs. So things like round trip time, packet loss per 1,000, and jitter will start to be included in the source and call destination history to look at call specific performance information. So that'll just, of course, help you identify and troubleshoot some potential network issues impacting call quality across the org. In terms of rollout for this one, this is going to hit rapid release and good release domains on extended rollout up to potentially longer than 15 days for visibility, and that'll be starting on the 30th of May.
Super helpful.
Yeah, and I know some people were saying that they don't see this yet in their admin console. Of course, others were. It just got announced today, so give it a little bit of time. You'll start to see that. And of course, I think once you enable that in your admin console, then you will need to wait a little bit longer for your users to enroll. The first thing that seems to be coming out here is the admin console settings and management tools for this one. Rapid release domains. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, they're both the 30th of May rollout. So, getting into the next thing here is the availability, which is going to be all those customers who can use the security investigation tool, which is available to Enterprise Plus, Education Standard, and Education Plus. Also, those admins with Google Cloud Identity Premium, Enterprise Standard, and Education Standard can also use the investigation tool for a subset of data sources.
What is this talking about? Am I losing it? Why are we talking about investigation tool for voice audit logs? Voice call quality.
Why? So that is because all of the logging got consolidated into the security investigation tool.
Including voice quality logs? Did the meat quality tool get in there?
The meat quality tool is something completely separate.
This should be very similar.
It's...
If you're paying for voice and don't have a security investigation tool, then you're not going to be able to access this?
Yeah,
if you're anything below enterprise standard.
Well, you could have a Cloud Premium account attached to your, let's say, business profile. But this is going into the logs, the reporting logs.
Just another case
for voice,
like last week of Google putting something somewhere and not giving people access to it for some bizarre reason.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Next on this one, next on the updates this week, is the expanded actions in the admin console space management tool. So this now gives admins the ability to further enhance the tool's functionality by being able to delete individual spaces and also remove individual members from a space. So it gives you some actions there that can happen on that space from the admin console side of things. Under this update here, and in terms of rollout, this one is also going to be starting on the 30th of May for both rep release and schedule release domains, and on an extended rollout up to 15 days for visibility. It's all available to all Workspace customers here. Next is that existing spaces organized by conversation topic will be upgraded to the new inline threaded experience by Q4 2023. Yep. Sad day
for Steve and friends.
I'm just dreading this day.
I want the voluntary upgrade me now button. Like, give it to me.
Yeah.
You and I are polar opposites on this.
Voluntary, delay for 2 more years or indefinitely. Please.
You want the Google Sites migration path timeline.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I want. Please give us the Google Sites migration timeline, please. So, a bunch of impact here in terms of how users are going to see this and experience a chat space. So make sure users are familiar with what's going to be happening, because it may come to a bit of a surprise for them all of a sudden. So a lot of details in here about how all of this will start to work. There's some additional info in this article that talks about different separators between last message sent and before the migration, and a message indicating the space has been upgraded to a space with new inline threads. So you will start to get some visual prompts and indications as to when that has actually happened in that space. So not what I'm looking forward to seeing happen at all. Rollout for this one is going to be immediate to everyone. It is going to be impacting all Workspace customers and looks to be available once this comes out in
once the
Q4.
email comes out.
Yeah, once that all comes out. Yep, exactly. Yep, so it'll impact everyone. So it says Workspace customers, but I imagine it's going to be impacting users with consumer, personal Google accounts as well. I don't think they're going to not change it for those users that are accessing spaces, for example, in a Workspace environment. So
yeah, they're probably not going to give as long of or as much warning.
Yeah.
To consumers.
Yeah. Well, you can't create spaces though on the Gmail side, right? You can just join them as a user, a non-Workspace user. So it's just really that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
They're saying it'll affect all Google users, but obviously more so those with Workspace accounts, because those are the ones that can create the spaces. All right, moving on. We can see top search results first in Gmail on mobile. So this is just a way to give you the most relevant information first and allow you to easily find specific emails So you'll be able to kind of see this this kind of main search results first, to hopefully get a hold of that information you're looking for just ever so slightly faster. And rollout for this one is on an extended rollout starting the 2nd of June, potentially longer than 15 days for visibility for both rapid release and scheduled release domains, and it's available to all Workspace customers as well as those with personal Google accounts.
I'd like to go back a second. You can create spaces in personal Gmail at gmail.com email accounts. I just did it. I almost never use my personal Gmail account, so I was able to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I just join them and get invited to them.
Right.
Yep, but here we go. Spaces, new space.
So
it's possible.
I don't know if you have the original space in your at gmail.com account.
Ooh.
Comment or hit us up on Twitter or email us and let us know what's going to happen for you.
It says it's not happening to, right, because it says it's not happening to consumers right there, but I'm sure it will.
Right.
Yep. Now it just makes me want to go create a whole bunch of spaces on personal Gmail. Share them over with the Workspace ones.
There you go.
So much for data retention and DLP policies. Huh?
Screw it.
Yep. All right. Next one, planning, organizing, and analyzing assignments and grades with grading periods in Google Classroom. So this follows up on the last year's announcement where there was features that enable teachers to include grading category information when exporting Google Classroom assignments to the student information system. This is now going to introduce grading periods, an option that allows teachers to define and apply grading periods segmented from the entire school year to their classroom assignments. Yeah. So for all of you education users out there, this one could be pretty important. The way this changes how classrooms are used. Rollout for this is going to be starting on the 2nd of June on an extended rollout, potentially longer than 15 days for visibility for both rapid release and scheduled release domains. And this is going to be available to Education Plus customers as well as those with the teaching and learning upgrade. So not available to anyone else. Next, you can start to declutter your conversations in Google Chat. A way to automatically hide direct messages in spaces that have been inactive for the last 7 days. So this feature only activates when a section has more than 10 conversations and doesn't affect pinned conversations. So if you want to always be able to see that, pin it. And if you just don't have a lot of, sidebar noise, that's really not going to affect you until you get past those 10 conversations, for example. So a little, another visualization here to provide you with, hopefully big enough. I think it's pretty decent size, not the hugest one, but usable for sure.
I personally, I do appreciate this feature. It doesn't affect me all that much because I have both in Spaces and in Chat enough pinned conversations that I basically never see the other ones that show up. In fact, it's a little bit of a problem because I have to scroll down, and if I miss a notification somewhere that I haven't on read and it's below that bar of all my pinned ones, I almost never see it, or I don't see it for a little while until I'm like, where's that unread? Oh, there it is. Okay, fine. But it doesn't bother me if it's just a chat that somebody sent to me 3 weeks ago or a month ago and it just lives there. Unless I go looking for something and it's like, why are all these still here? So I definitely get this feature. But yeah, I've got my key contacts and and key spaces, and they're all pinned. So that's how I do it. I do wish we could drag and drop and reprioritize, but whatever.
Oh, other than like pinned versus an alphabetical kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I like alphabetical. I like keeping it that way. Simpler. It's less like Slack, which I like.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, in terms of updates, we see better control the flow of meetings with viewer mode in Google Meet. So if you are looking to provide a better experience and scale attendance for larger meetings, you can now select everyone as a viewer when creating your calendar invite. So they'll only be able to, of course, view and cannot share their audio or video in a meeting. And you can designate attendees who are learning, presenting, or moderating the meeting as co-hosts and contributors to allow them to kind of interact with that meeting event. So pretty useful feature here, I would say.
Webinar mode.
One that should have been, exactly, webinar. I was going to say, one that should have been incorporated into this, a long time ago, as most other webinar platforms at the time, and probably still do to this day, have this feature. So if you are hosting those large meetings and want to make sure just everyone is a viewer, there's a bit of a guide on how to go out and enable that and configure that event to work in that capacity. We can, let's see, I'm just looking here. I'm trying to get down this here. Better flow.
Interesting item in the additional details section.
Yeah, so just reading through this right now, trying to get through that. Enterprise Plus, which part? I mean, why don't you just call out the part that you thought was interesting? Cause,
that Enterprise Plus customers can now have 1,000 attendees instead of 500. Yes. 500 of those will be viewers.
Yep.
If the host does not pre-configure the meeting, all users will be designated as viewers after 500 contributors have joined the call. It's a big call.
Okay. There you go. Yeah. Well, I know you talk about a lot of big calls you guys have and using Zoom, I think specifically because of the capacity limitations, right?
Actually. Well, the only thing that's stopping us from using Google Meet for our company town halls, which is about 500 people now, is the ability to have a translator, stenographer to type in the translations and have them show up as captions in real time. Now, that being said, theoretically, we could start testing out the live captions, translations, and such. But we haven't tested it yet, so for now, it's just we stick to the status quo, and we've gotten people used to doing it on Zoom, and as much as people are in Google Meet on the regular, there's a lot of employees that are field workers that don't join Meet all that often, but we have gotten them to do the town hall. They know to go to Zoom, so that would also be probably a bit more of a training lift when we want to make that switch.
Right.
So
rollout for this one is going to start 2nd of June for both rapid release and good release domains on an extended rollout, potentially longer than 15 days for visibility. The assignment of viewers is available to pretty much everyone here. Business standards. So not the very first. So it is only available to Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, and then the rest of the education SKUs. It's the additional feature of 1,000 meeting attendees is going to be available just for the Workspace Enterprise Plus customers. So that is how that rollout is split between availability on those two domains or types, or those different license types. Yep. All right. Quick one about Bard. We'll jump into some of these other releases that we saw throughout the week. So Bard saw the enhanced support for, or more relevant responses with Location Hub here back on the 1st of June. So you can start providing more relevant responses if you choose to let it use your device's precise location, and helps you kind of make more informed responses to what you're asking it based on that location data.
Is Google integrating some of their search magic to it?
Yeah, sure. Next, and I think finally for me anyways, a Chrome version 1.14 update. We talked about it last week. We didn't cover it too extensively. There's really not too much to talk about in terms of like specific admin console kind of types of things. Or of course there is if you look in to the full list of things that happen. But we'll just talk about a couple of them here. in the admin console updates section. One is that the Chrome browser cloud management subscription, really it's just getting automatically applied to your domain. You don't have to click on it and say, hey, I want to add it. It was free anyways. It was just, I guess, a formality of taking that and turning it on and enabling it. Now it will be available to all customers. And be able to take advantage of that feature. Next, I'll get back to my notes here. Last one is that there are some new policies in the admin console. So 5 of them to be specific. Some WebRTC one here, some insecure health TLS handshake capabilities, calendar integration enabled. Also an option here, and Chrome apps. This is quite small to read at this time of night, but Chrome apps web view permissive behavior for allowed, yeah. And then wallpaper Google Photos integration enabled. So a couple ones there. Looks like you can start to pull in Google Photos. Yeah. Photos Manager, Google Photos images and wallpaper, and this policy is enabled for use. So, yeah, I guess sometimes you don't want people using the Google Photo Reel for wallpapers, but there you go. Coming soon here, it also says that the items listed below. So I guess some experimental or planned updates. They may change here, but upcoming browser changes are that HTTP requests upgrade to HTTPS in Chrome 1.15. We have kind of some skip on load events here happening. Chrome policy to disable Chrome extensions unpublished from the Chrome Web Store. Wow, there's quite a few here. So we've got master preferences to initial preferences migration, and I guess actually that is it in terms of those additional upcoming browser changes that we will see probably next year. And that concludes the updates section of this week's episode. Jesse, over to you.
All right, on to the news. We have a teased redesign for Google Chat, both in the logo, which currently is the green homage to Hangouts, and is now going to be updated shortly to the more colorful version that will be closer matching the editors and the editor's icon as a whole, as well as Google Meet. This was teased at the Workspace Summit, which was earlier this month, and this is a 9 to 5 Google article that is highlighting all of this, so we appreciate that. Essentially, there's a couple of things here. One is the new logo that will show up for it, and Google tells them that it is a, quote, conceptual look at the future of Google Chat, and that it will, quote, we will have more to share soon. So this is definitely confirmed, definitely coming. Something is happening here. As for when and what exactly, that still remains to be seen. One of the things that is also shown is, they already have, custom emoji. It talks about scaling spaces to 50,000 users, which is pretty huge. It mentions starred, smart compose, groups integration, inline threading, search filter chips, and timeline. Timeline is one that I don't think we've mentioned here yet. Have we, Steve? I think that's a new one.
No. I mean, other than timeline functionality in Sheets, which is different, but
no. This is timeline in Chat. I think we've seen this referenced and kind of teased on other screenshots that we've seen or have had leaked for the desktop. The desktop version of it, but this is the mobile app, and it has a timeline here that seems to show you all of the locations, all the different chats and threads and things that you were tagged in, as well as the ones that you missed. The 2 different tabs there, so it just looks like a nice reorganization of the app. Yes, Steve, go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering. The increase to 50,000 users for Spaces is good, but I think it still falls well short of what Currents could do in some of those communities that were there, and the numbers that we were seeing there, and trying to, get those current communities migrated over to Spaces.
That's where we're headed.
It takes some bit of time.
We may end up with another Google Sites timeline for Currents. the currents migration. So no rollout timeline on this because God knows it's not official. So who knows? Only Google knows, I suppose. And even then, not so sure. All right. On to the next one is another 9to5 Google article here that is talking about Duet AI for Gmail and Docs image generation. So they're starting to roll it out to trusted testers. Again, who those are, we don't know. We have a couple of guesses, and unfortunately, it is not us, not yet. I am actually going to a Google event tomorrow. Hopefully, I get this episode out before it, and anybody who's in the SoCal area, drop by the Spruce Goose Hangar for the C2C event that they're having there. I imagine we'll be doing some talking about AI and things like that. So should be a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll see you there if you're actually listening to this show before the event. Quick interruption from the editor's room. Unfortunately, I did not make it to the Google event as planned. I spent the night and most of the day at the hospital with my 5-month-old who managed to get the flu and some other cold of some sort. I'm not entirely sure of the details because, quite honestly, I got no sleep last night. So just wanted to pop in here, say that I apologize, and I look forward to the next one, and hope it was a great event. And if you're listening to it after the event, I hope I did see you there. Anyway, back to the update here about the fact that they're rolling this out to various trusted testers. Essentially, as you saw previously, there's going to be a help me visualize side panel, and you can enter your prompt, and this is using the where was it? I had it written down here. I apologize. Imagen. That's their generation, the image generation model, or one of them that it is using for this. So, starting to trickle out. In addition to that is the Gmail Help Me Write feature, which is where you saw this highlighted right at the beginning of I.O. talking about its capabilities and the fact that it'll write a whole email for you based on just a couple of key details. And obviously we joke that our AIs will just continue writing long letters to each other and then summarizing it for us to read. And basically we should just write the short letters to each other and get on with our lives. But hey, that's culture. I'm not here to affect change in culture. All right, next up is an interesting new blog post from Google Cloud blog directly that says 7 new no-cost generative AI training courses to advance your cloud career. Obviously, this is over on the Google Cloud side of things. This is a blog post written by Priyanka Vergadia, who did the Google Cloud visualization book, I want to say. Yes. I am correct. I am, for those who can't see, looking at it over my shoulder. It is, of course, still on the shelf as part of my background here. And the book there is the Visualizing Google Cloud is what that's called. And it's a really great reference guide for all things Google Cloud. Obviously, it's out of date now with all of the AI and generative AI and machine learning. So, Priyanka, you're going to have to work on a version 2.0 of that, or 1.5, or, who knows what it'll be. But essentially, they are launching a bunch of courses through the Skills Boost portal here to help you build your skills if you're a developer or you're looking to get into that and to get started with that. And so we have the links are in the blog post, but we also have a link to the individual ones directly in the Cloud Skills Boost, the link directly to that there. And then the last one that I have here to talk about is kind of a bonus one because it technically hit the Google Workspace Updates blog today, but it is something that we've talked about before, and it also hit the newswires today. I think it was today, earlier, was it the 5th? Yeah, so earlier today. And
today, yeah.
Yeah, I was in the hospital over the weekend with my son, my baby, so he had croup. So my brain is a little scrambled and fried at the moment, so words are, I'm trying. But essentially, it is talking about passkeys that Google is rolling out, not only password keys to the regular Gmail accounts, but now Workspace will be able to trial it. It says it's now rolling out to over 9 million organizations, which I think is Google speak for all of the Workspace customers that they have. So if you would like to try this, check out the article here. There are instructions to get it enabled. It is disabled by default. It must be enabled by administrators. And even, it does say, though, even when it is disabled, users will still be able to create and use passkeys for 2FA authentication. So that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah.
Passkeys, I think, is very, very interesting, and the next stage of evolution for passwords. So I am definitely going to be enabling this on a couple domains and testing this out using a couple of different devices and kind of seeing how the experience goes. Steve, have you played with it at all yet?
I mean, other than enabling in the admin console, that is kind of as far as you can get right now. Uh-huh. It does not really allow you to go any further than that.
No?
No, it just is as it's still gradually rolling out. The first thing that rolled out was the admin console functionality to enable it. So the actual user functionality to generate those is not showing as being available yet in this feature.
Okay, yeah. Does seem to be rolling out staggered. For those who are not familiar, by the way, The Verge does a great job of describing what passkeys are. Passkeys are a new form of passwordless sign-in tech developed by the FIDO Alliance. If you're not familiar with them, look them up. They're the guys who make, the standards for security. Their members include industry giants like Google, Apple, and Microsoft. Passkeys allow users to log into websites and apps using their device's own authentication, such as a laptop with Windows Hello, or an Android phone with a fingerprint sensor, or an iPhone with Face ID, instead of traditional passwords and other sign-in systems like 2FA or SMS verification. Because passkeys are based in public key cryptographic protocols, there's no fixed quote-unquote sequence that can be stolen or leaked in phishing attacks. So that's one of the many reasons why I feel that this is kind of the next step, evolutionary step in passwords is, getting rid of them. So I'm very, very happy to see that this is rolling out, and this is going to get a lot more attention now that Google's doing it. And I saw a couple of other larger organizations are also working on it. Obviously, Apple and Microsoft are members of this alliance, so they're going to be rolling out support for it if they haven't already. I assume sometime soon. So that's all I have for that. So that's all this week. Send us your questions and comments on Twitter at Workspace Recap, or on our website. There's a forum, or you can email us, info@tabgeeks.com. I can't talk anymore tonight. Hit subscribe, thumbs up, you know what to do. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Workspace Recap.